What show?
The Whitey Show, the Whitey Show.
Whitey Show.
I'm the review who loves to say son of a bitch. The same review who hates most Nintendo shit. I'm the one who calls games what they are. I even own the 360 and hate Gears of War. Guy who spends his money on games, fucking cards. Just a funny guy who became a YouTube star.
Okay, well the story here is basically the apocalypse happened a little bit too early, and heaven and hell are fighting on Earth to see who can rule, and mankind is basically, to put it blunt, we're fucked, we're dead, we're gone. And now war is to take blame because the apocalypse happened too early, and now he's out to, you know, find out who actually started the apocalypse and why he's to fault. I'm not gonna lie, once it starts, it's the big, awesome explosion, everything fighting, it's awesome. Then it slows down quite a lot. But then you meet these characters that you really enjoy, and I think that's one of the strongest parts of Darksiders, is that, you know, these characters like War and Uthane and Samuel, they're all interesting. And for me anyway, I really wanted to know, you know, their whole story, and you get most of it throughout the game. And the voice acting once again comes through for almost all the characters, especially Mark Hamill comes through again as the Watcher. He plays a great asshole. Overall, everything in this story just picks up as it goes along, and the ending truly is a kick-ass ending, and I have to say, honestly, I really enjoyed the story throughout.
Heaven hunts you. Hell hates you. All of creation cares not whether you live or die.
I have to say, for the most part, I really enjoyed the graphics. The flow of the game looks really good, and the coloring is just great. It brings it to life. You know, this game actually has color. I know it's amazing for this generation. Not to mention, the art design is really well done, in my opinion. I know some people don't like the 90s comic book art style, but it totally kicks ass. I love how bulky these characters are, and when they rip them in half and you see their arms and everything fly, it just looks great. And overall, and to be honest, it kind of looks like a comic, so it really works for it. The only really negative things I say about the graphics is, yes, there is a frame rate issue at like 2 parts of the whole game. One part is at a boss, and it actually hurts the game, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes you won't encounter it, but other times you will. I don't know why, it's just weird. And the other thing I have to talk about is screen tearing is always there. Unless you're fighting, you probably won't notice it, but when you're walking and turning corners, you'll notice the screen tearing. However, it doesn't really affect me much, but I'm going to have to mention it is a small fault, but overall the graphics and the art design just kick ass for this game. People have been going on and on about how this game borrows other elements from other games, and it does. It does feel like Zelda in small ways. I think it feels more like Legacy of Kain in most ways, and a little bit from God of War with the combat. But overall, combining all these different games, I mean, how can you get a bad game? You really can't, and this game shows that. Basically, the game is broken down all different parts. I'll start with the basic gameplay. The gameplay is an action hack and slash when it comes to combat. And true, the game does rely mostly on button smashing one button throughout the game in the beginning. Though you do get a secondary weapon, and that weapon will combine with your first weapon, and I actually like that concept of using your sword and your secondary weapon, whether it be the scythe or the gauntlet. And I'm not saying it's extraordinary, but the flow of the battle works really well. You can basically bounce to one enemy to the other, and not to mention locking on a target makes this cinematic look plus a lock on, and just works really well when you want to fight 1 or 2 enemies in the same area, and you can switch targets very easily, and the controls are very responsive. I don't understand where the complaints are coming from with the controls. Then you get a ranged weapon, whether it be the horn that knocks back enemies or use the gun and so on, and that just makes every battle different, and basically you can use all these different skills together in one nice flow, and that's where the combat really works. Next big part of this game is obviously the puzzles. And the puzzles in this game, I wouldn't say are overly hard. They're just kind of right there, and you have to figure out what goes where, how this goes there, maybe a little backtracking to the room before to get a bomb or something, throw it through a portal, so on. There's different ones, and I'm not going to spoil it because each puzzle is unique. I feel like the beginning ones are kind of like training for the later ones, and by the last dungeon, you're going to be thankful you had some training with the puzzles, because the last puzzles can be a little frustrating, yet really rewarding when you do them. Now, there's also other sections that I'm going to try to cover as quick as possible because I don't want to draw this out too long, but you have a section where you ride your horse Ruin, and Ruin is a badass horse. The combat works really well on the horse, and the actual control of the horse is good. The only thing I would ask more if there was more sections with this horse because it works so well. Another thing you have in this game is a flying section, which is pretty good. It's not Panzer Dragoon Order, but it does its job and it is fun. You also have sections where you have to use a gun. Well, you don't have to, but it will definitely help you fight the angels since they fly like little pigeons of hell. And that's also fun to use, so the guns are definitely a nice introduction to the game. Really, altogether, combining all these elements into one game just works really well. It never feels boring. The pacing is very well done with the gameplay, where you split the puzzles with the combat, with the horse riding, with the gun gameplay, and once in a while you get to fly. So overall, I think the gameplay does a great job of capturing all these different elements from other games and just making it fun and meld together, and that alone is an achievement. Fuck innovation. Melding all these genres into one works even better. This game is a fucking blast to play. Yes, it is a fucking blast to play. It is one of my favorite games I play in a long time. I just came from Bayonetta. I love it as an action game. This game to me, I feel is an adventure, action, puzzle, and overall just mixing a bunch of other elements into it and works really well. And I'll get more into this whole Bayonetta vs. Darksiders in another video, but overall, if you want an adventure game, if you like Zelda, because there's a lot of people like to compare it, you're going to like this. However, if you remember Legacy of Kain, Blood Omen, Soul Reaver, this game actually feels more like that, and I freaking love it. It is a great game. The puzzles aren't overly hard, they're just fun to do, fun to figure out. You feel rewarded when you do them. The combat works really well, it flows really well. Buying new moves and upgrading them is always fun to do. The story gets progressively better, and the ending just kicks ass. And the graphics and the art design are wonderful. This game is almost a perfect 10. If there wasn't some minor problems, I would give it a perfect 10. If the story, started off crazy and just went throughout the end, it would have been a perfect game. But there are a few problems, and I mentioned them. However, I'm still going to say this game is definitely worth your money with a 15 to 20 hour adventure, mattering what mode you play on. And then if you want to replay on hard mode once you beat normal, there's always that option and lengthening the game. I'm going to keep this game and play it again in a few months because I absolutely loved it. And overall, I can't wait for the sequel. Bring it on. Darksiders 2. Please, people, buy this game. This company deserves to make a sequel to one of the best adventure games I played.